Try this before eating chestnuts. They'll become 5 times sweeter and more delicious than usual. Hi everyone, it's Tracy here. In today's video, I'll be sharing how to choose, store, and cook chestnuts so they turn out perfectly sweet and flavorful. And there's one special roasting trick that I'm pretty sure you and most people have never heard of before. Let's get started. When buying chestnuts, always look for ones that feel firm, heavy, and smooth in your hand. The shell should be shiny with a rich brown color that's a sign of freshness. Avoid chestnuts that look dull, have cracks, or feel light, because that usually means they've dried out or have tiny holes from worms. One common mistake people make is storing chestnuts at room temperature. Even after being harvested, chestnuts are still alive and continue to breathe, which means they slowly use up their natural sugars. If left out too long, they lose their sweetness and start to spoil quickly. After bringing them home, the first thing to do is soak them in cold water for about 10 to 15 minutes. This simple step helps you check which ones are still good. The fresh, healthy chestnuts will sink to the bottom, while the bad or worm-eaten ones will float to the surface. Once you notice any that float, take them out right away. Sometimes they're just a bit dehydrated, but if they've turned dark brown inside or feel soft when pressed, it's best to throw them away. Keeping only the firm, solid ones will make your roasted chestnuts taste much sweeter and cook more evenly later on. The next step is to get rid of any hidden worm eggs and protect the chestnuts before long-term storage. Start by heating a pot of water to about 175–180 degrees, around 80 degrees. Just until you see small bubbles forming at the bottom. You don't want it boiling hard. Once it's ready, add the chestnuts and let them soak for about 2 minutes. If your chestnuts are smaller in size, 1 minute will be enough. This gentle heat works like a natural disinfectant. It kills off any tiny insect eggs or bacteria that may be hiding under the shell without cooking the nut inside. That means you're keeping all the natural flavor, moisture, and texture perfectly intact. When the time's up, pour them into a strainer, pat them dry carefully with a clean towel or paper towel, and let them cool completely at room temperature. Once dry, they'll be ready for storage. Start by wrapping them in clean newspaper. Newspaper works wonderfully because it absorbs just enough moisture to prevent mold, while still keeping the natural humidity inside the shells. Next, place the wrapped chestnuts into a zip bag or any airtight bag, but don't seal it all the way. Leave a small gap so the nuts can still breathe. This prevents excess moisture buildup, which could lead to mold. Then store the bag in the coldest part of your refrigerator, ideally in the chill compartment at around 32 to 36 degrees to 2 degrees. Avoid putting them in the vegetable drawer as it's slightly warmer and may cause the chestnuts to deteriorate faster. Here's the amazing part: when chestnuts are kept at this low temperature, the natural enzyme amylase starts breaking down the starches into simple sugars like glucose and maltose. That's why after about 10 days, the nuts taste noticeably sweeter, and after 30 days, their sweetness can increase up to 5 times. This simple trick is the secret behind those delicious, naturally sweet roasted chestnuts you love. Just remember to replace the newspaper if it ever feels damp to prevent mold, and never freeze them. Freezing stops the enzymes from working, so the sweetness won't develop. When the chestnuts are ready to be cooked, the very first step is to score the shells. This is important because it helps release steam while roasting and makes peeling much easier later on. But if you've ever tried holding a chestnut with one hand and cutting with the other, you know it can be a little risky. The round shell can slip easily and the knife might catch your fingers. So here's a simple and clever trick that makes it completely safe. Grab a metal or steel bottle cap, something sturdy that doesn't bend. Place one chestnut right on top of the cap to keep it steady. The small rim of the cap holds the nut in place, preventing it from rolling around. Then, using a large, sharp knife, gently press down to make a horizontal cut across the rounded side of the chestnut. You don't need to press too hard. Just cut through the outer hard shell and the thin inner skin. Be careful, cutting too deeply can cause it to break open or lose its shape when roasted. This little method keeps your hands safe, your cuts neat, and your chestnuts perfectly scored. When they roast, the slits will open beautifully, giving that signature cracked look and making the nuts easy to peel while keeping the golden flesh intact. After scoring the chestnuts, let's start with a special salt-roasted chestnut recipe that many people may not know yet. First, soak the chestnuts in warm water for about 30 minutes before roasting. This simple step makes a big difference. It softens the outer shell and loosens the thin inner skin, making them much easier to peel later. If you don't have much time, you can skip this second soaking, but whatever you do, don't skip the first one. That's the step that keeps the chestnuts fresh and hydrated from the beginning. This second warm soak works like a finishing touch. It helps the chestnuts absorb back a little moisture they may have lost during preparation. Then remove the chestnuts and let them drain. Next, heat a deep pan over medium heat. Then spread a layer of coarse salt about 1/2 inch 5 centimeters thick across the bottom. Cover the pan and let the salt heat for about 10 minutes. The salt acts like hot charcoal. It distributes heat evenly and prevents the shells from burning. When the salt is hot, arrange the chestnuts with the scored side facing up, making sure they don't overlap. Cover and roast over low heat for 15 minutes, then uncover carefully. Flip the chestnuts and roast for another 15 minutes over medium heat. The total roasting time is about 30 to 35 minutes, depending on the size of the chestnuts. When you start hearing a gentle popping sound and smell that sweet nutty aroma filling your kitchen, you'll know they're done. Remove the chestnuts and wrap them in a towel for about 7 to 8 minutes. The steam will help soften the shells and the thin inner skin. When you open the towel, you'll see perfectly roasted chestnuts, warm, golden, easy to peel with a rich sweetness, beautifully enhanced by a touch of salt. Try peeling one. Wow, the shell comes off effortlessly. Take a bite. It's sweet, nutty, and perfectly tender, just the flavor I love. Besides salt roasting, there's another wonderfully simple way to make delicious chestnuts by using an air fryer, and the result is truly amazing. Start the same way by soaking the chestnuts in cold water for 1 to 2 hours, so the shells soften naturally. If you're short on time, you can take a faster route. Boil the chestnuts for 1 minute, then immediately soak them in cold water for about 10 minutes. This method gives the same result: soft shells that are easy to score and peel later, while saving you nearly 2 hours of waiting. Next, preheat the air fryer for a few minutes. Arrange the chestnuts in the basket with the scored side facing up, making sure they don't overlap. Roast at 200 degree 392 degree for 15 to 20 minutes depending on the size of the chestnuts. Halfway through, shake the basket gently so the nuts cook evenly on all sides. If you enjoy a slightly salty taste, sprinkle a little salt before roasting. When the chestnuts are done, take them out and wrap them in a clean towel for about 5 minutes. The steam will soften the outer shell and loosen the thin inner skin, making them much easier to peel. You'll end up with beautiful golden brown roasted chestnuts. The shells lightly crisp, the flesh inside soft, buttery, and rich. No oil, no smoke, no mess, just the pure, comforting sweetness of autumn in every bite. And that's it. 2 simple ways to make the sweetest, most flavorful chestnuts right in your own kitchen. Whether you roast them in salt or in the air fryer, the result is always warm, fragrant, and full of that cozy autumn sweetness. I hope today's tips help you enjoy chestnuts in a whole new way, softer, sweeter, and easier to peel than ever before. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more simple, heartwarming kitchen tricks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.